Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello, welcome to the show, everyone. Today, we are talking about, wait for it.
Pancakes.
Wait for it.
Are we not talking about pancakes?
No. Self-discipline. It's your second favorite thing behind pancakes.
I thought that this was life lessons in cooking with Glenn Ambrose.
Life lessons and pancakes?
Yeah. Oh, life lessons and pancakes should be the new name of the. If we ever do a live event, right, where like listeners come, we should have a breakfast beforehand called Life Lessons and Pancakes.
Yes, and then the main event will be Life Lessons and Soul Pancakes.
Ooh,
Soul Pancakes is like some video shorts that they have.
Yeah, do you know who that is?
No.
Do you know who's behind Soul Pancake?
Bob Soul.
Rainn Wilson from The Office.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, I think I did know that.
Well, then I didn't teach you anything.
No, just because. Yeah. Anyway, that's.
Do you know why? Do you know why we're so far off topic?
Why?
Because I lack self-discipline.
Oh yeah. Apparently, so do I.
Let's see if we can work through that.
Yeah, let's get back to a little bit of self-discipline and get on topic. So, yeah, we're talking about self-discipline and how to keep yourself on topic when you're doing a podcast.
This is a very specific episode.
Yes.
It's niche.
So, self-discipline. One of the ways that I really trained myself to do this, like very early on, like after I woke up, everything was new and different. So I had to learn new ways of living and stuff. And one of the things that I started doing was making deals with myself, because like I kind of didn't know what was normal and what was not normal and what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing, because my life had changed so dramatically. So I would kind of look at situations and go, well, what would normal people do? Like I remember my first job when I moved to Rhode Island, I had, after about a year, I got a check at my job and it was for a week's pay. And I had already received my week's pay. So I called the office and I said, you guys must have made a mistake. You sent me a second check for my week's pay. And they said, no, that was your vacation pay. You didn't take any vacation time and you had a week. So that's your pay for that week because your year anniversary just went by. And I went, oh, wow. So cool, first off. Right. But then I was like, maybe I'm not living completely balanced. There must have been some sort of day where I could have taken a day off, maybe if I was sick or just maybe for vacation, just to go wind down, just to enjoy a day. There must have been some time where I could have taken some time off. I think that would be more well balanced and more normal. So what I would do is but I had a fear of falling into negative behavior patterns because I just came from 20 years of negative behavior patterns. So I was like, well, how can I monitor this? And I was like, well, I could take a day off. And then no matter how badly I want to take another day off, I'm not allowed to for 2 months. Just so it doesn't become an unconscious behavior pattern. So that's what I did. I mean, I don't remember if that's exactly what I did in that situation. But the point is I thought about like, well, what's reasonable? And I thought about it ahead of time, when I wasn't trying to bargain something out of myself. And I thought about it ahead of time and I said, well, if I take a day off here and I don't take another one for 2 months or 3 months, then that's reasonable. That's not me abusing the system and running out of days. And I still have some if I do get sick. And so that's manageable. So I'll do that. And that's what I did. And then, if the next week I was like, you know what, that day off really felt good, I should take another day off. I went, no, I can't do that because I made a deal. I'm not taking another one for 2 months, and then I stuck to that deal. And that's kind of how I learned to bring balance into my life and have the structure that I was looking for without going from one extreme to another.
Yeah, the balance, you implemented structure,
right.
Which is something that we've talked about a lot on the show over the years. Structure is the key to building discipline. I would say, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, and I think structure has such a scary preconceived notion. I think it's important to understand what structure is. I mean, all structure is living consciously.
Right.
It's just putting some thought into what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how it's going to play out, and living on purpose. Living with some intention of what you're trying to accomplish and how you're going to accomplish it. That's all, because, structure, I'm huge with rebellion. I mean,
yeah.
I often say that's my middle name. It's Glenn Rebel Ambrose. I will rebel against absolutely anything. So I have to watch myself on that. And I still do. And it's so for me to take a day off and then to take another day off and to take another day off. Yeah, I can completely create good reasons in my head and rationalize why I should do that, just to rebel against the system, if nothing else, So bringing in that structure, but then all of a sudden I find out that I'm in a situation where I'm sick and I don't have any time off, So to bring in a structure, I was able to, put together a situation where I was able to enjoy a day off every once in a while, but still not put myself into a negative situation. That's learning to live life more enjoyably, and that's really what I'm trying to accomplish. So once I start looking at structure as doing that instead of stripping my freedom away, I still have the freedom. I'm the one that's making the decisions.
Right. Yeah.
So structure is not stripping our freedom away, and that's something that I think we really need to understand. It's just living on purpose.
Living on purpose is sometimes difficult. A lot of times difficult. Which of those two things would you say is correct? Sometimes difficult, never difficult, or always difficult?
It just depends on the person. It's just that's how it just depends on how conscious you are in that particular area of your life.
Right. So for me, always difficult would be a appropriate determination of that. So I tried to sort of shock the system when we got to the month of August. It was just an arbitrary day, right?
Shock the monkey. That Peter Gabriel song just popped into my head, and I just had to let it out.
Oh man. I was in your eyes. Something was coming, and I was like,
"Yeah,
he's gonna sing
was bubbling
something
up." And I was like, "Glenn, don't do it." And then I was like, "No, it has to come out."
No, there's no way you're not doing whatever it is that you think of at the moment. But I was like, I want to do something drastic to shock me into
shock the monkey.
Oh God, why do I keep saying it?
You're setting me up now.
To force myself into more conscious, into being more conscious. So I decided, for no real reason other than I wanted to try it and I wanted to try to be super disciplined for a length of time, I decided that I was going to be strictly vegetarian for at least for for the month.
Yeah.
Or at least see if I can make it a week, but like start. But
so there's your first problem.
Well, no, but like
at least a month or at least a week.
I mean, I've never been able to do it for more than one day. So I was like, I'll do it a month, and then I was like, and I'm gonna also make sure that I'm working out every day, make sure that I'm tracking my food, and all of that stuff. And I did it. It was pretty easy. I felt very much more conscious about everything that I was doing, throughout every day.
So how long did you do it for?
Well, all right. So I originally set my goal, but my goal was arbitrary, right? So it was like July 31st. I was like, I need to do something. So tomorrow I'm going to start doing this thing, and I'm going to do it for an entire month. And then within the first couple of days, I was like, I can do this. But I'm tracking everything that I'm eating, and I'm looking at my like micronutrients and macronutrients and all of this stuff, and I'm like, I'm gonna reassess where I am at a week.
Yeah.
Because even though I'm hitting this goal was arbitrary, and I wasn't doing it for ethical reasons or anything. Like I was. Which I think are completely fine. So I said I'm gonna do it a week, and then I'm going to evaluate the trends of like, am I getting the protein that I need? Am I eating correctly like this?
Good.
So I made it a week, and it was good. And there were some things that I was not getting because I did not prepare myself well enough to do it. Because as I said, I decided to do it like a day or two before. So I switched to getting a little bit less strict about that. And then it was just about making sure that I hit those nutrient goals.
Yeah.
And it was more about that, but I did like I liked the way that it felt, and there was a reason why I chose to try to eat vegetarian for a month, because I do enjoy the way that I feel after a couple days of not eating meat.
Yeah. So how does this apply to self-discipline?
The discipline was I was trying to do something drastic to shock myself into it, because self-discipline is a hard thing for me.
Yeah.
So it wasn't
so that can be good.
It like it was an overcorrection. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean sometimes that can be good, because I mean it's if we give ourselves the leeway to screw up, sometimes we screw up. There's something good sometimes about not having a plan B. I'm just doing this, and I'm doing this all the way. I mean, I'm the same way. It's, I was a personal trainer for 20 years and have been plenty involved with food and nutrition and all that stuff. I mean, it's never been my specific thing, but I've been around it for a long time and know my share about it. So, but even with me, when it's like, if I go, I'm going to eat better and try to work out, like if I've been out of my routine and I try to do it that way, it doesn't work well. So it's like, well, I'm going to eat really strict. I've had enough. I need to make a change. I'm drawing a line in the sand, and I'm going really strict. And, I just did that a few months ago, and it worked really well. Just that it's getting very strict sometimes, and then working back from there, and then adding things in, can be helpful. Right. But it's, because if you're like, well, I'm going to kind of do this, I'm going to do a little better on this. Specifics are helpful is really what I'm getting at with the self-discipline. Be specific in what you're going to do. Write it down. There's something about writing it down usually, and get really specific and do that and stick with it. Which I think a big part about self-discipline is the mentality of it, because which goes right into one of the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, be impeccable with your word. One thing that he teaches in there is be impeccable with your word, not only to others, but to yourself. And that's something that we don't think about a lot, and we don't do enough. When we make an agreement with ourselves or a promise to ourselves, it is a lack of respect and it is a lack of self-love if we do not live up to that agreement.
Yeah.
Because if we made an agreement to anybody else, we'd respect them enough to live up to it. And, but to ourselves, we just blow ourselves off all the time. Then we wonder why we don't have a strong sense of self-love. It's because we treat ourselves like crap. That's why. How? By disrespecting ourselves, by not keeping promises for ourselves all the time. So once we start understanding that, it's an act of self-love to keep a promise to yourself. And when you make a promise to yourself, letting yourself down and backing away from that promise is damaging, and it has to be taken seriously. And I truly believe that. So it's, I feel like crap about myself. And not only that, if I'm breaking promises, a lot of times if I notice people outside of me treating myself poorly, and usually it'll happen with my son first, my son and I respect each other, but there's times when we treat each other disrespectfully. I do it to him. He does it to me sometimes. And usually if I notice him being disrespectful towards me a little bit, I look at how I'm treating myself, and I am not treating myself well. And he's just picking up on that, reflecting it back to me. And as soon as I start treating myself better, he starts treating me better.
Yeah, that is, I see that a lot in friendships and stuff.
We have to respect ourselves first. So it's, when part of self-discipline is understanding, it's like if you make a promise to yourself, live up to that promise.
Right. There's a quote that I love that is what gets measured gets managed. Have you? And so that's going back to what you talked about with it's helpful to write stuff down.
Yeah,
which probably would have been a better segue. But I wanted to go back to your point about it's helpful to write things down when you're going into discipline. And so I think about that quote a lot. The what gets measured gets managed.
Right, it brings consciousness to it.
Yeah,
it brings attention to it. We pay attention to it, and there's one of my favorite quotes is lack of direction, not lack of time is the problem. We all have 24-hour days, which Zig Ziglar, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's, so it's that, and that's the truth. It's like we all have the same amount of time on our hands. And yet some people are accomplishing a lot and others aren't. And if you check with both those people, they're going to tell you that they're busy. So it's like, it's just lack of direction. It's lack of focus. It's, if you're just running around, Phil, and I've noticed myself doing it when I moved down here. I've been moved, since I moved to Florida, it's getting a little better now. I'm bringing more consciousness to it. That's why. But when I came down here, there was so much to do. I couldn't even, if I made a list, I would have been completely overwhelmed. And I know myself well enough. When there's that much stuff to do not make a list because my head will explode.
Right.
So I just sit there and I try to prioritize and I go, what's absolutely necessary? These 4 things. Okay. Those have to get done ASAP. Put attention into those. And then whenever you're not doing one of those, just knock out some stuff whenever you can. And eventually it'll whittle down into a manageable size, and then maybe you can make a list.
Yeah.
So that's what I found works for me.
I'm very much the opposite. When I have so many things to do that I would get easily overwhelmed looking at them all, I have to write them down. Like I have to make a list. I made a list. I think maybe it was on a different podcast, but I like this morning I made a huge list of everything that I needed to accomplish today. and it was massive. It didn't fit. I tried to send a screenshot to my roommate, and it didn't fit in one screenshot.
Yeah, see, yeah. If I did that, I'd just be like, I mean, if it's one day, fine. I don't know. I had like 6 months worth of stuff.
Oh yeah,
to do.
Absolutely.
It would take me a week to write the list.
Yeah.
Like, so, but that's just, I found what works for me, and we all have to find what works for us. So I definitely do lists. I do lists regularly. I have my list of stuff, but when it's that big, I can't. So what we just have to do is find what works for us.
What's funny is that I don't do lists regularly. I only do lists when I have a lot.
Yeah. See, it's all about what works for you, but it's about keeping track and doing things and understanding that a big thing about lists is understanding that you're not supposed to get it done. And that's not only people who make lists, that's people who feel overwhelmed in their own lives that don't make lists. People are like, we have this mentality, and this comes up a lot with people, is, they'll get overwhelmed and they'll be like, oh my God, there's just so much to do. I can't do it all and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, you're not supposed to. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, you don't finish. Like, but subconsciously, we don't slow down enough to actually realize that and put that into our thinking pattern. Subconsciously, when we don't slow down, we actually think we're supposed to finish. And there is no finish. Like, I always use laundry. I'm like, you don't finish laundry because, like, if you're doing a load of laundry, you have clothes getting dirty on your body while you're doing them.
Right.
So you never actually finish doing laundry, or, I mean, you could stand there naked doing laundry and you could actually finish it.
Right. But then as soon as you're done and you put clothes on, you have laundry again.
Right. You have laundry again. So it's like, you never actually finish laundry. You never finish grocery shopping. You never finish putting gas in your car. There's a lot of things that you just don't finish. They're just ongoing. And if we look at life like that, and if we prioritize and we just go, okay, I'm not supposed to finish. This is just part of life. I'll get some stuff done as I can do it. The priorities, I'll make sure those get done first. And whatever doesn't get done will get done a different day. When I first learned that took me a major conscious effort. And it took me like 3 months to fully learn that in my life, because I had, a huge list and I would cross things off and I wouldn't get it done, but stuck in a mentality that I was supposed to, and I was a failure because I didn't get it all done. And I had to work on that and work on that and work on that and train my mind that when I looked at the list, the goal was not to have it all crossed off. And I just had to repeat that over and over and remind myself. And then eventually after a while, I would look at the list. And when I saw stuff not done at the end of the day, I'd be like, oh yeah, well, I'm not supposed to get it done. And I'm like, yeah, I finally did it.
Yeah.
I finally retrained my brain to stop thinking that I was supposed to finish everything.
Yeah. And that's a good thing for you to be telling me right now, because I just looked at my list and I have 18 more things to do when we're done with. We're not even like, we have 4 more podcasts to record after this one.
Yeah.
And then I have 18 more things to do today.
Yeah.
So they're not going to get done, but some of them can get moved to tomorrow.
Supposed to. That's the biggest point. They're not supposed to.
Right.
Because and a lot of that is, the self-discipline is really, I think, making deals with yourself, making realistic deals with yourself. And, another thing I want to mention that's important about self-discipline is do not create a deal with yourself when you're in the middle of a situation. Like I always use going to the gym as the example, because, it's just an obvious example. So people are like, okay, should I go to the gym today? if you're not in the pattern of going to the gym that day, then you're trying to create a new pattern and self-discipline yourself on the way there. You don't do it because your brain is subconsciously looking for a way to not go to the gym. So, your brain is, depending on what the deal is, your brain is looking for a reason to not eat vegetarian. Your brain is looking for a reason to not go grocery shopping. Your brain is looking for a reason to not do whatever you're trying to get it to do that you're not in a pattern of. Your brain is looking for a way out. That is not the time to create the deal with yourself.
Right.
At the time, what you need to do is sit down and make sure you tell your brain you don't have to do anything today. We're not doing anything today. This is not about accomplishing anything today. All I'm doing is making a plan for the future. See, your ego and your mind has a difficult time putting as much control over you on things in the future.
Right.
If you tell it it's about the future, it kind of goes, oh, all right, I don't have to deal with it right now. And that's when you sneak in and make the rules. So then you go. When you're not under control of your mind trying to find a way out of it, you tell it, no, we're not doing it today. Oh, we're not doing it today? Oh, okay, I can relax. Good. Then make your plan. Make your plan, and then you go, okay, what would be good in the future? Not now, in the future. Well, I want to go 3 times a day. What days? I'm going to go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay, what time? Do I need to pack my gym clothes before? Do I need to put them in the car and not come home after work? Because once my butt hits the couch, it doesn't get up. Make the whole plan of action ahead of time. And then once it's time to do whatever your plan says, you cannot discuss it in your own brain.
Right. And that's what and that's what I was saying earlier about my big plan for August. Like as I said, I decided it on, like the 29th or the 30th or whatever of July. And then I did not have the structure to do it in its entirety, and it was good for a week, but then I had to look at what I was doing and pivot because I didn't set myself up for success. Like I forced myself into some.
But you did succeed.
I forced myself into some discipline, but it wasn't sustainable long-term discipline.
Right, which is fine. You can always reassess. And that's one of the things that usually I try to build in when I'm making the deal. Like I usually put a time frame on it. Like I go, okay, I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week at this particular time on these days. And I'm going to do it even if it's the stupidest idea that was ever come up with by a human being in the history of mankind. I'm doing it anyway for at least 1 week or 2 weeks or a month. No matter what, I am doing it for that period of time. And then I'll reassess. Because my brain will try to say stuff like that. It'll be like, you weren't thinking clearly, Glenn, when you made this plan, because you didn't take this into consideration. And you didn't take that into consideration. And this is not the best way to go about it. And that's not the point. The point is regaining control of your life and doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. It doesn't matter if it's the best plan. But so you did succeed. You said you were going to do it and then you were going to reassess. You did it for a week and then you reassessed. That's success, So then you can make some adjustments and go, oh, well, in this last week, I did succeed at what I set out to do. So,
Glenn, take your pills.
That's my first time using a timer. I was trying to keep.
You tried to use the timer.
And then I couldn't figure out how to shut it off because I was in the middle of talking.
You don't. You can't use the timer like that. You got to use it as like a stopwatch, and then look at it as it goes up.
Oh yeah,
because then the thing won't go off.
Live and learn. So yeah, so it's having those times and then reassessing after. Like if you're going to do stuff during the week, reassess on the weekends. when you're not doing whatever the heck has to do with your plan, again, so your brain doesn't try to talk you out of it. But that's the biggest thing. It's like, make the plan ahead of time. And then as you're implementing it, do not discuss it with yourself, because you will find a way to sabotage it.
Absolutely. That is my MO. So
that's everyone's MO.
Yeah. So that timer did mean that we are out of time for this episode. Glenn, something that I'm excited about, something that took a little bit of self-discipline to get started, was you're on Patreon now.
I am.
You love the segues? The segues, I'm so not nailing them today at all. But if you want to...
but the better segue they are, the funnier I think they are.
You mean the worse segue they are, the funnier?
No, the better they are. Like, you could do it perfectly and it would make me laugh because I would know that you're doing it.
Right, yeah. Because you can see me looking at the clock and then looking back at you. Anyway, so you can support the show now on Patreon, patreon.com/Glenn Ambrose. And we have some exclusive content there and some fun things. And, you can listen to the podcast there and everything like that. So if you want to support the show, check out Glenn's new Patreon page, patreon.com/Glenn Ambrose.
Yeah, check it out. And, we're fine tuning everything, and it's definitely going to be worth taking a look at to see what exclusive, options we come up with and settle in on. So yeah, we're excited about it. So check it out. And that's going to do it. I believe if you can see this, we're going to wrap it up. And, so we're wrapping it up. Thanks for listening, and we will talk at you soon.
Glenn is available for life coaching sessions. To book an appointment or for more information, go to glennambrose.com, follow him on Facebook and Twitter, or click the link in the description of this episode.